Hello there, dear viewer. I hope you're doing very well today. In this video, I'm going to be talking about some Warner Archive films. I have a stack of Blu-rays here to talk about. So I'm going to give you some recommendations, and this is quite poor timing on my part because a Warner Archive sale just ended a few days ago. So I do apologize I didn't talk about these sooner. I don't actually know if these particular titles were in the sale. But anyway, I've got some great films to talk about today. The first one that I have here, and this really excited me when I saw that it got announced. It's the Hanna-Barbera's Superstars 10, and this is 10 animated films following the famous Hanna-Barbera characters like the Flintstones and the Jetsons, Yogi Bear, Scooby-Doo. And this particular set of films really triggered some nostalgia within myself because I remember watching some of these as a child when they were reshown on Cartoon Network over in this country. These 10 films were made in the late 1980s to sort of revitalize these properties and these characters. And I think it was successful. I think this is part of the reason why I knew these cartoons when I was a young boy. So this set was a real nostalgia hit for me. I enjoyed watching all of these films. Some of them don't hold up as well as others when you're watching them as an adult. That's just the nature of these kind of cartoons, and they were made in very quick succession, so I think they were sort of rushed out of the assembly line to get them onto screens as quick as possible. So yeah, just a dream nostalgic set for me. You get all of the films in these two cases, all on separate discs. So as you can see, you get 5 different Blu-ray discs inside the case. And as far as I'm aware, all 10 of these films are available separately on their own Blu-ray releases from Warner Archive. So if you didn't want to get all 10 of them, you could just pick up 1 or 2 of your favourites. For me, the Scooby-Doo films are probably the highlight, although I really like the Flintstones and the Jetsons, so just a great experience for me getting this. This won't be for everyone. Like I said, nostalgia is playing a great part in how much I enjoyed these films. Having them on Blu-ray and having them readily available now is a great thing for me. We'll talk about something a bit different now. I've got the Marx Brothers A Day at the Races. I'm not even going to try and explain the plot, but it involves all sorts of craziness, with Groucho being this doctor who's not really a doctor. And this was one of the classic Marx Brothers films that I think we'd been missing on Blu-ray for a very long time. This one I hadn't seen before, and I watched it with my dad and we had a great time watching it. It does have some aspects that are very much of its time, particularly, you know, some of the musical numbers, which I know a lot of people like. They like seeing Harpo play the harp, but they undoubtedly do disrupt the flow of the comedy and of the story. And there is also a scene where they cover their faces in oil to try and disguise themselves as black people, which is obviously not good, but is very much something that happened in films back then. So there's no getting around that, but the rest of the film is classic Marx Brothers, and it just had me laughing throughout. There are some great special features on the Warner Archive disc as well, and there's a really good audio commentary, which I greatly enjoyed. So that's A Day at the Races, and don't quote me on this, but as far as I'm aware, Warner Archive discs are region free. Next, we've got a bit of an Errol Flynn classic in Mark Twain's The Prince and the Pauper, the story where these two young boys who look identical because they're played by twins, they swap their positions in life, and of course one of them is wealthy and one of them is poor. And as you would expect from this artwork, there is some swashbuckling in there from Mr. Errol Flynn. I think this is a great film, and one that I think would be great if you wanted to introduce some of the younger ones in your family to some more classic films, because everything in this film is pretty harmless and it's very entertaining, and the main characters in the film are these two children. So if your children haven't already developed a negativity towards black and white films, then this could be one to show to the whole family. The only thing you really get on the disc in terms of special features are some classic Warner cartoons, so nothing to really do with the film itself, which is a bit of a shame, but I'm just so glad that it's now available on Blu-ray, because like I said, I really enjoyed this one. Next, another edition that I really wanted for the collection. It's Cabin in the Sky, the Vincent Minnelli musical, which is great because I'm on a bit of a mission to get all of Minnelli's musicals on Blu-ray, and there's quite a lot of them. So yeah, I'm one step closer with Cabin in the Sky. This film's quite famous actually for having an all African American cast, which when you think about it for the 1940s, that's actually quite impressive looking back. And there's some great dancing, some great songs in here. The choreography and the staging of some of the musical numbers is great. Overall, I don't think the film is hitting the pure heights of some of Minnelli's other musicals, but it's certainly in the kind of middle range, maybe inching towards the top. In the special features, we do also have a great audio commentary, which I enjoyed listening to. So, Cabin in the Sky, another Minnelli film in the collection. Great stuff. Another film which I think is the first time coming to Blu-ray is Faithless. This is the Tallulah Bankhead, Robert Montgomery film directed by Harry Beaumont. From 1932, it's the story of a wealthy young girl who keeps rejecting this man because he only makes $20,000 a year, which is a lot of money for the time, you have to remember that. She then falls on some hard times and ends up with no money and has to resort to selling her own body. Yes, this was 1932, so it was pre-Hays Code, and there's a lot of stuff which just a few years later would have been completely taboo to have on screen. Overall, I don't think it's a great film, but I think for that particular reason of being pre-Hays Code and tackling some of the subject matter, I think it does have some moments where it is rather good. Some of the issues here are also because this is 1932, so it's early sound era. A lot of the filmmakers, the actors, perhaps they aren't all that used to making talkies just yet. I think that comes across in the film. Some of it's a bit stagey, a bit rigid, but nevertheless, this is a relic of the time and something that I enjoyed watching, even though I don't think it's that great of a film. Again, there are no special features for the film itself, just some classic shorts from the archive. And now we return back to the land of cartoons with the Looney Tunes Collector's Choice Volume 3. This is 3 hours worth of Looney Tunes cartoons, 25 in fact. These are spanning 3 decades with some early and late appearances for some of these classic characters. And you know what I loved about watching this disc? Is that I could just put it on when I didn't have time for a full feature film, or if I was doing something where I couldn't particularly pay full attention. I just kind of had this on running in the background and I would dip in and out. I'd watch a couple of shorts and then get back to whatever else I was doing. And you know what? I had an absolute blast doing all of that. This is volume 3 and I don't have the other ones yet, so clearly I'm going to have to go back and remedy that because this was such a great time. And I think it's important to be getting some of this cartoon stuff on Blu-ray because we could be at risk of not being able to access this in the future. So that's quite the stack of Warner Archive things that I've been enjoying lately. I do think Warner are doing great things, going into their vaults, releasing classic films, great cartoons, etc. Some other companies could take note from what Warner do with their back catalogue, because there's a lot of stuff still out there that hasn't seen the light of day on Blu-ray, and that's a real shame. If you want to stick around on the channel and get some more film recommendations and Blu-ray recommendations from me, just click the video that's presented on screen right now. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.